well do you know yourself?
7.
8.
A 10.
I'll say maybe a 6.5.
6.5. Good, good.
8.5.
8.5. Good.
It's got to be a 12.
12. He is so full of
Maybe 5?
maybe 5. Take your time.
It depends on the day.
Yes, depends on how are you today.
Well, probably closer to a 10 than a 2.
You're a 9? You're a 9. 1 for David.
Yes.
22.
22.
6.
6. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If it did matter, I would say it would be best to be closer to 0 because that's the way you're heading. You're not going to know who you are, thank God. Beginning point, you get down here in the 3 to 4, it feels pretty bad. You get down here into about the 5, 6. You start coming up here into the 8, 9. You feel pretty good about yourself. You're getting there. You're getting to know who you are, and then almost reverses itself. Have you noticed that? Suddenly it crumbles, falls apart, and that's a good thing. Because there is no ever getting to know yourself, not in the human terms, that is. Because you realize that that identity that you think you're getting to know is absolutely false. It's a game that can't be won and really shouldn't be won. It's getting to just be in experience rather than search. It's just being the I am. So, 4 things going on right now within you. You're redoing your energy anchors, how you hold yourself in reality, how you make yourself be able to stand, to think, to remember, to go through the motions. You're redoing all those. You're redoing the amount, the levels of light and energy that you can bring into your reality. Even though some days it makes it really intense, you try to shut it off, you really can't. There's a tremendous amount of this light and energy. So here's now what's happening right now. Instead of having the left brain, right brain scenario, instead of switching mental to creative, now they're starting to merge together. So you have now a combined consciousness within yourself that is creative and mental. Creative is the thing that finds answers. Mental executes. So now it's difficult because in the creative, it doesn't follow old patterns. It requires that you trust yourself. The amio, the trusting yourself. A big part of the self that you've been trying to get to know over the years, a big part of that self was your emotional self. Your emotional self. And right now, it is dissolving. It is disintegrating. It is falling apart. Good? Good, yes? Yes, absolutely. What's happening is, particularly as the creative mental merge, there is not really room at the inn anymore for the emotional self, the little bratty child. The emotion comes from the mind. It's the mind's bad imitation of real soul feelings. They're immature. They're unrealistic. They're demanding. They're selfish without being self-full. Well, right now, that emotional self is rebelling. It's going to battle you. Don't worry about it. You take a deep breath and say, "Die, you witch." That's it. Goodbye. When the emotional self goes away, it's been like a bad friend, but a friend that was always there. And part of you starts to long that kind of dysfunctional interaction that you constantly had with it. So there's going to be a little bit of you that yearns to get just a bit of that back. when you feel that need to feed, you take a deep breath. Need to feed? You take a deep breath. And now it's going to transmute into I am. I am. Time is essentially an illusion. It's a real illusion. Time it tends to be mental. The concept of time changes. And you start to realize how flexible it actually is. You start to realize that it's an energetic tool. But you also start realizing how much of a prison it's been for you. When that time starts shifting or ultimately going away, it's going to make you feel kind of strange. And when you do, what are you going to do? No, what I said, what are you going to do? That's what I would do. You're going to try to go back. That's where you let yourself be grounded but expansive, where you let yourself distill it down to the basics, where you stop asking, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me? Unfortunately, you're going to get the answer. You're going to get a long list from all the aspects, from the universe, from everywhere. Don't ask that question anymore. So you say, I am that I am. Buzz off. You want to see me go multi-dimensional? Yes. Right in front of your eyes? Yes. Put one of those cameras right on me. Amazing. And they said it couldn't be done. Next. Do you want to see me walk on water?
Yes.
Really?
No.
Yes.
No. No, damn it.
Walk on water.
No.
And they said it couldn't be done. Thank you.
I told you no.
The point is that you're going to go multi-stage. In other words, you're going to start perceiving the different tiers and different levels of reality around you. It's not going to be singular. The mind has tended to separate things. It likes compartments. It likes what it thinks is everything in nice, orderly fashion. But the creative now coming in is going to shift that, so it would be multi-staged. What are the challenges? David?
Disorientation.
Disorientation, absolutely. You're moving into a state of being that you're going to perceive many of the dimensions around you, and it's going to be disorienting, physically and mentally. It can be terrifying at times, but give yourself permission to do it, just in a nice, gentle way. There's so much more out there, and the creative loves it. You have a certain archetypical energy, concept of this thing called enlightenment and guru. And it's very distracting because you put this as the standard or the example, or the shining light in your path and say, I have to be like that. I have to be, in order to be my spiritual self, I have to do as the gurus did. The real Yeshua, the most impatient human I had ever met. He was a rebel, a revolutionary, and he was intolerant. A loving being, totally compassionate, but absolutely impatient. It's not the nice portrait picture that you have of him, but this is what many aspire to be. I have to be, what would Jesus say? Jesus would say, get the out of my way. Buddha was neurotic. He had this neurotic obsession for enlightenment and just starved himself to death to get it. Actually, he starved because he was phobic about a lot of foods. He just wouldn't eat them. If anybody even looked at a food that he was going to eat, he couldn't eat it. And finally, he relaxed. He gave up trying to find himself, trying to get to know himself. He relaxed. That's when he started eating, he gained some weight, and he finally had the enlightenment that he had always wanted. St. John the Baptist, crazy man. He was a lunatic. Another good example of a multiple personality. 1 minute screaming and yelling to get the demons out of people, pushing their heads underwater. He used to drown people. It wasn't baptism. It was called murder. The Guru Dilemma. Your dilemma. Who do you aspire to be like? Any of them? Or yes? Or yes. In other words, they had human characteristics because they're here on earth as humans. They have what you would call flaws, but they're actually not. They're just idiosyncrasies. And so do you. You've been trying to get to know yourself and perfect yourself, make yourself just this pure, holier than thou human. They didn't do it. Why should you? They had disturbances, issues, challenges. What eventually caused them to be ascended masters? Acceptance, let go. Everybody should get an award. I don't know if Linda brought enough, but they let go. They let go of this need to try to define themselves, to find themselves, to know themselves, to improve and perfect themselves. They came to a point of exhaustion. Anybody feel a little connected to that? A point of exhaustion, of saying this search, this desperate search is exhausting. I'm just going to give up. To hell with this whole spiritual path and all of its books and all of its workshops and all of its accoutrements and everything else. To hell with that. I'm done. I'm done. In that moment of acceptance, then it came together. And they had a good laugh, every one of them. And then it didn't matter. It didn't matter that they weren't perfect because they were never going to be. It mattered that they accepted. It mattered that they loved themselves, quirks and all. So let's take a deep breath with that. Whatever you think is flawed, imperfect, whatever you think are the things you have to work on, forget about it. Yes, yes. And then suddenly you're just being. You're not trying to perfect anything. You're not trying to find yourself. Now you're just being. In that, the creative energies that we talked about earlier rush in now. Good. This person's no longer just trying to figure it out. They're just doing it. The creative energies rush in. The mind can slow down. The need to try to make things right or perfect or in some sort of delusional ideals of old gurus goes out the window. And that's when you can sit here today and say, I am the master. I don't care what they say. I am the master. I am the master. It's that simple. That simple. But then the mind jumps in, and it will by the time you leave this parking lot saying, well, if you're the master, then you can walk on water also. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. So don't get caught in all of those things that the masters would have done, because it's all a bunch of stories. The masters finally loved themselves.